Ladies, let me tell you something. If you think the thing that makes a man fall for you is your face, your body, or how good you look in that dress, I need you to hear me clearly. That is not what keeps him. That is not what makes him choose you out of every woman in the room. That is not what makes a grown man lie awake at night wondering how he got so lucky. Looks get attention, but attention is cheap. Attention is free. And today, I'm going to tell you what actually makes a man look at a woman and say, her, that's the one. I don't know what it is about her, but I can't shake her. See, you've been lied to. You've been told it's your waistline. You've been told it's your smile, your skin, your hair, the way you walk into a room. And baby, those things are lovely. God bless them. But here's the brutal truth. None of that is what makes a man stay. None of that is what makes him text you back in 4 minutes instead of 4 days. None of that is what makes him introduce you to his mama with a little fear in his eyes because he knows he finally brought home somebody real. I have spent decades talking to men, thousands of men, rich men, broke men, married men, divorced men, men who got it right, and men who lost the best thing that ever happened to them. And when you get them alone, when you get them honest, when the bravado drops and the beer is half finished, they all say the same thing. It was never the prettiest woman who got under their skin. It was the woman with something they couldn't name, something they couldn't buy, something they couldn't find anywhere else. And today I'm going to name it for you. Not one thing, 5 things. 5 surprising traits that men find deeply, almost helplessly attractive in a woman, and not a single one of them is for sale at the mall. By the end of this, you're going to understand what he sees when he looks at you, what he's hoping to find, and why some women get pursued like treasure, while other women, beautiful women, get treated like an option. So sit down, pour your coffee, because I'm about to break this all the way down for you. Now, before I give you the 5 traits, I need to tell you why this matters so much. Because some of you have been working on the wrong things your whole life. You have been taught since you were a little girl that your value is in your packaging. You were 11 years old the first time somebody commented on your body. You were 14 when you learned that the girls who got attention were the girls who looked a certain way. You were 22 when you figured out that a photo with the right lighting gets more response than the kindest thing you ever said. And nobody sat you down and said, baby, that's the bait. That's not the hook. That's not the thing that makes a man build his life around you. So you got good at the packaging. You got real good at it. You learned the angles, the outfits, the filters, the whole presentation. And it worked. It worked so well that it confused you because the men came and the men chased and the men wanted you. And then something kept happening. They wanted you and then they didn't. They were all in and then they were half in. They were texting you, good morning, beautiful. And then they were gone by the 3rd month. And you're standing there looking at the same face in the mirror that had them acting crazy in the beginning, going, what changed? What did I do? What's wrong with me? Sister, nothing is wrong with you. Let me say that again, because I needed to get past your ears and down into your bones. Nothing is wrong with you. What happened is simple. The packaging got him to the door, but packaging has an expiration date. Every package does. And when the new wore off, there was a moment, and it happens with every man, a quiet moment where he asked himself a question he didn't even know he was asking. He asked, is there anything behind this that I need? Is there anything here that my life is missing? Is this a woman or is this just a wonderful view? And that moment, that quiet, private moment inside a man's mind is the moment where your whole relationship was decided. Not on the first date, not on the wedding day. In that quiet moment, 3 months in, when the excitement settled and his instincts took over, See, here's what men are wired to do. A man is a hunter by design. I'm not being poetic, I'm being plain. For thousands of years, a man's job was to spot something valuable, pursue it, secure it, and protect it. That wiring did not disappear because we got smartphones. It's still in him. It's in the way he watches a room. It's in the way he notices things. And here's the part nobody tells you. A man's hunting instinct has two settings. There is the setting for things he wants to catch, and there is the setting for things he wants to keep. Those are not the same setting. Those are not the same women in his mind. And most of what you've been taught about attraction feeds the first setting and starves the second one. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? You've lived this. You've been the woman he chased like his life depended on it for 6 weeks. And then somehow you became the woman he could go quiet on for 6 days. And nobody explained the shift. So you blamed yourself. You thought, I got comfortable. I gained 5 pounds. I should have played it cooler. No, baby. The chase didn't end because you changed. The chase ended because he finished one hunt and never started the other one. And the other one, the keep hunt, is triggered by things that have nothing to do with your body. Let me tell you about a woman I know. We'll call her Denise. Denise is 41, divorced, 2 kids, and she told me she spent her whole 30s believing she had to compete with 25-year-olds. She said, Steve, I was in the gym like it was a second job. I was doing everything to my hair, my nails, my clothes, and I kept meeting men who were fascinated with me for 90 days and bored of me by day 91. And then Denise did something different. She didn't get younger. She didn't get thinner. She got honest. She got calm. She got standards, and she got a life, and she stopped auditioning. And she said the strangest things started happening. Men started staying. Men started introducing her to people. Men started asking her opinion on things. One man told her, and she never forgot it. He said, I don't know what it is about you, but when I'm with you, I feel like a better man. That's it. That's the whole mystery right there. Did you hear it? He didn't say you're the finest woman I've ever seen. He said, when I'm with you, I feel like a better man. The 5 traits I'm about to give you are the 5 things that produce that sentence in a man's mouth. Now let's get into it. Trait number 1, and I promise you, this is not the one you expected. The first thing a man finds deeply, almost magnetically attractive in a woman is emotional steadiness. Calm, not coldness, not games, not pretending you don't care. Calm. Let me tell you why this is first. Because women always tilt their head at this one. Every man you have ever met is carrying a war you know nothing about. He wakes up every morning and the world asks him for things. His job asks him. His bills ask him. His pride asks him. His past asks him. And a man, by his nature, by his wiring, does not get to fall apart. That's not fair, but that's real. He has been taught since he was 5 years old that crying is weakness and fear is shameful. So he walks around this earth as a sealed container of pressure. Every man, the successful ones, the struggling ones, all of them. A sealed container of pressure with a smile on top. Now imagine that man meets a woman. And at first it's fun, it's flirty, it's all sparks. But then life starts lifing, and he watches how she handles a bad day. He watches what she does when the plan falls through. He watches what she does when she's hurt, when she's disappointed, when she's scared. And baby, he is not judging her for having feelings. Let me be clear about that, because women hear be calm and they think I'm saying be quiet. I am not saying be quiet. I am saying he is watching to find out one thing. He wants to know if her emotions are weather or climate. Weather passes. Climate is forever. A man can handle weather. A man can hold an umbrella. What terrifies a man, what makes a man quietly plan his exit, is the feeling that he is signing up for a permanent storm. See, here's what's happening inside his mind. He is not asking, does she get upset? He is asking, can I survive her upsets? Because he already has a war out there. Every man does. And the deepest fantasy a man has, the one he will never say out loud at the barbershop because they laugh him out the chair, is this. He wants one place on this earth where the war stops. He wants one person whose presence lowers his blood pressure instead of raising it. And when he finds a woman whose spirit feels like peace, when he finds a woman who can be angry without being cruel, who can be hurt without being destructive, who can say that bothered me instead of burning the whole house down, something happens in that man that he cannot control. He starts to relax. And a relaxed man is a loyal man. A relaxed man is a generous man. A relaxed man is a man who comes home early. You've seen the opposite. You've been at the restaurant and seen the couple at the next table, and she's going off, and he's sitting there with that look on his face. You know the look? That blank glazed, I'm physically here, but I left 20 minutes ago look. That's not a man who stopped caring in that moment. That's a man who decided somewhere in the last 6 months that her emotions were climate, that there would never be clear skies. And once a man decides that, it's almost impossible to undo because his body remembers. His shoulders tense up when he hears her keys in the door. That's real. That's physiology. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you, sister. And I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying this to wake you up. Some of you have been bringing the storm because nobody ever taught you that you were allowed to put it down. You learned early that the only way to be heard was to get loud. Maybe you grew up in a house where calm people got ignored, so you learned to escalate. Maybe you were with a man who didn't respond to anything gentle, so you trained yourself to come in hot because hot was the only temperature he could feel. I understand that. I have compassion for that. But hear me on this. What protected you in one season will imprison you in the next. The volume that made a neglectful man notice you will make a good man leave you. And you deserve to learn the difference. So here's what steadiness actually looks like in practice, because I'm not going to leave you with a concept and no tools. Steadiness is not silence. Steadiness is timing. When he does something that hurts you, steadiness says, I'm going to feel this first and speak second. That's it. Feel first, speak second. The woman who texts the paragraph at the height of the emotion is not weak. She's just early. She's sending the weather report while the storm is still overhead. Give it a night. Give it a breath. The same truth delivered from calm lands 10 times deeper than the same truth delivered from chaos. A man can hear a calm woman. He can only defend against a chaotic one. There's a difference between hearing and defending, and your whole relationship lives in that difference. I knew a woman, let's call her Rachel. Rachel was the queen of the 2 a.m. paragraph. Every hurt she ever had got typed out at the height of it. And she hit send like she was launching something. And then she'd wake up the next morning with that sickness in her stomach, rereading what she sent, watching the 3 dots come and go. And she told me, Steve, I don't even mean half of it. I just need him to know I'm hurting. And I said, baby, he can't hear your hurt over the sound of your explosion. The hurt is the message. The explosion is the noise. And men are simple receivers. The noise drowns the message every single time. Rachel tried something radical. She started writing the paragraph and not sending it. She'd write it in her notes app, every raw word, and then she'd sleep. And 9 times out of 10, she'd wake up and read it and delete it. And then she'd go to him and say one calm sentence. What you did yesterday hurt me, and I need us to talk about it. One calm sentence. And she said men she dated before would argue with her for hours. But this man with the one calm sentence, he just looked at her and said, "Come here. Tell me what happened." Same hurt, different delivery, different man?
No.
Same kind of man, finally able to hear her. That's what steadiness does. It turns down the noise so your truth can finally get through. And here's the spicy part, because there's always a spicy part. Baby, nothing unsettles a man who is used to chaos like a woman who stays calm. When you don't match his energy, when you don't take the bait, when you respond to his attitude with evenness, he doesn't know what to do with you. You become a puzzle he can't solve, and men cannot walk away from a puzzle they can't solve. Calm is not just attractive. Calm is disarming. Calm is power wearing a soft dress. Now, trait number 2. And this one is going to surprise you even more because you've been told your whole life that this trait scares men off. The second thing, men find deeply attractive in a woman is standards. A woman who can say no. A woman with a price of admission. Now I know what they told you. They told you men are intimidated by strong women. They told you if you have too many requirements, you'll end up alone. They told you to be easygoing, be low maintenance, be the cool girl, don't ask for too much. And some of you listened. Some of you became so low maintenance, you were getting maintained by nobody. You became the cool girl, and the cool girl gets a very specific prize. She gets to watch him give the world to the woman who asked for it. Let me break down what's really happening inside his mind, because this is male psychology at its most raw. A man does not value what costs him nothing. That is not a character flaw. That is not him being a dog. That is economics written into his soul. Every man alive measures the worth of a thing by what he had to exchange for it. The car he saved 3 years for means more than the car he was handed. The house he built means more than the room he rents. And the woman who required something of him, who made him rise, who made him plan, who made him show up correct, she occupies a category in his mind that the easy woman never touches. Not because he's evil, because he's human. We all do this. You do it too. The handbag you save for means more than the one on the clearance rack. Value and cost are married in the human brain. You cannot separate them. You can only decide which side of the equation you want to live on. You've been sitting there, haven't you? Watching some man give you the bare minimum and wondering why he won't do more. He texts you at 11 o'clock at night. He sees you when it's convenient. He gives you just enough to keep you from leaving and never enough to make you secure. And you keep thinking if you're more understanding, more patient, more giving, he'll finally see your worth and rise up. Sister, listen to me carefully. He already sees your worth. He sees it perfectly. He has priced you in his own mind at exactly what you're accepting. A man pays what you charge, not what you're worth, what you charge. And if you charge nothing, that is not generosity in his eyes. That is a clearance sticker. I need to tell you about Tasha. Tasha was dating a man for 2 years who never made her a priority. Birthdays came and went with a text. Plans got canceled an hour before. And Tasha was the understanding girlfriend. She understood his job. She understood his stress. She understood his mama, his ex, his dog, his fantasy football league. She understood everything except one thing. She didn't understand that she was teaching him. Every time you accept less without consequence, you are training a man. That's not an accusation. That's just how people work. You are always teaching people how to treat you by what you walk away from and what you stay through. Tasha finally got tired, and she did something she had never done. He canceled on her for the third time in a month, some vague excuse, and instead of, "It's okay, baby, I understand," she said, "No, it's not okay, and I'm not going to keep doing this." And then the hard part, she went quiet. She didn't block him. She didn't curse him out. She just stopped being available. And she told me, "Steve, I was sick about it. I cried for a week. I was sure he'd just move on." He lasted 4 days. 4 days. And then he showed up, and for the first time in 2 years, he showed up correct. Flowers, a plan, a reservation, an apology with specifics in it. And she asked him later, "Why now? What changed?" And this man said the sentence that proves everything I'm telling you. He said, "I always knew you'd take me back. Then one day I wasn't sure anymore, and it scared the life out of me." Did you hear that? He was never confused about her worth. He was comfortable with her price. The moment the price changed, the behavior changed. The behavior was never the problem. The pricing was the problem. Now here's where most women mess this up, and I need you to lean in, because this is the part they don't teach you. Standards are not an attitude. Standards are not a speech. Some of you give these magnificent speeches. "I know my worth. I don't accept this. A real man would never." And then you accept it anyway. Baby, a standard that isn't enforced is not a standard. It's a wish. It's a wish list you're reading to a man who already knows you won't close the store. Men don't respond to announced standards. Men respond to enforced standards. The power is not in the declaration. The power is in the consequence. You don't have to tell him what you require. You just have to quietly become unavailable when it's not there. That's the whole game. Silence is not passive. Silence is a spotlight. When you go quiet, you put the spotlight on his behavior, and men cannot stand in that spotlight long. They will either step up into it or step out of your life, and either one of those outcomes is a win. Did you hear me? Either outcome is a win. Him rising is a win. Him leaving is a win. The only loss is you staying in a situation with no standard, paying full price for a man on layaway. And let me kill a lie while I'm in this neighborhood. The lie says that if you have standards, the good men will be scared off. No, baby. Wrong men are scared off by standards. Good men are attracted by them. You know what a good man thinks when he meets a woman with real standards? He thinks, finally, a woman I can't cuss with. Finally, a woman whose yes means something because her no is real. A high-quality man is bored by easy. He has had easy. Easy is everywhere. What he has not had, what he is secretly starving for, is a woman whose approval he has to earn. Because her approval is the only kind that will ever mean anything to him. Stop shrinking. Stop discounting. Stop auditioning for a role you were born to cast. Trait number 3. And this one is going to sound small, but I need you to trust me because it might be the most powerful one on the list. The third thing men find irresistibly attractive in a woman is playfulness, lightness, the ability to laugh, to tease, to be fun. Now don't roll your eyes at me. I can feel some of you rolling your eyes. Playfulness, Steve, I came here for strategy. Baby, this I ask strategy because here's what nobody tells you about men. A man's attraction begins with his eyes, but it is sustained by his nervous system. How he feels around you determines how long he stays around you. And most men are walking around this world heavy. Heavy with responsibility, heavy with expectation, heavy with the performance of being a man. He has to be serious at work. He has to be strong for his family. He has to have answers everywhere he goes. And then he meets a woman, and in the beginning, it's light, it's laughter, it's that banter, that teasing, that electricity. That's why he falls so fast in the beginning. It's not your face changing his brain chemistry. It's the lightness. He is literally addicted to the feeling of being around someone who makes the world feel less heavy. Then something happens. The relationship gets serious, and she gets serious. And I understand why, because serious things are at stake. Your heart is at stake. Your future is at stake. But somewhere along the way, the playfulness dies, and everything becomes a meeting. Every conversation is about the relationship, the problems, the plans, the feelings, and he starts to drift, and she says, he's changed. He used to be so into me. No, baby, he didn't change. The atmosphere changed. He is still addicted to lightness. He is just not getting it at home anymore. And a man will always gravitate toward where he feels light. That's not an excuse for bad behavior. That's a diagnosis. There's a difference between an excuse and a diagnosis, and I'm in the diagnosis business. Let me make this concrete for you. Think about the last time you saw a man completely smitten, really smitten, not just interested. What was she doing? I guarantee you she was laughing at something. I guarantee you there was an ease about her. She teased him a little. She didn't let him be too serious. She touched his arm and rolled her eyes at his corny joke, and he stood there grinning like a 14-year-old boy. That grin. You've seen that grin. Every man has that grin, and it only comes out for one thing. It comes out when a woman makes him feel like a boy again, in the good way, in the way that means the armor is off. Playfulness is the key that takes a man's armor off. And when the armor is off, that's when you get access to the real him. That's when you get the tenderness, the loyalty, the little boy devotion that women think only exists in movies. It exists. It's in every man. It's just behind the armor. And playfulness is the key. Now, some of you are saying, Steve, I used to be fun. Life beat the fun out of me. I hear you. And I'm not asking you to fake joy you don't have. I'm asking you to protect the joy you do have. And to understand that your lightness is not frivolous. Your lightness is magnetic. Your laugh is not a small thing. Your laugh is a force. You know what men say when they describe the woman they fell for. 9 times out of 10, somewhere in the first 3 sentences, they say, and she was just fun, or she made me laugh, or it was just easy with her. Easy. That word comes up more than beautiful, more than sexy. Easy. And I don't mean easy like no standards. We already covered that. I mean easy like Sunday morning. Easy like he didn't have to perform. Easy like being around her felt like taking off tight shoes. Here's the practical part, because you know I always bring the practical part. Bring back teasing. Teasing is the most underrated form of intimacy on this planet. When you tease a man gently, playfully about his terrible dancing or his overconfidence in his grilling skills, you are communicating something profound. You are saying, I see you, the real you, and I like you enough to play with you. Men tease their closest friends. That's how men bond. When you tease a man, you enter his deepest friendship language and his romantic language at the same time. It's a skeleton key, and laugh at his jokes when they're funny. Don't fake it. Men can smell fake. But when it's funny, let it out. That laugh of yours is doing more work than any outfit you own. And let him be silly. Let the man be silly without making him feel stupid. A man who can be silly with you is a man whose armor is off. And a man whose armor is off is a man whose heart is open. You're welcome. Trait number 4. Now we're getting into the deep water. The 4th thing men find powerfully attractive in a woman is this: a life of her own. Purpose. Passion. A woman who is going somewhere with or without him. Ladies, let me tell you something. And this might be the most important sentence in this whole video. A man does not want to be your whole world. I know the songs say he does. I know the movies say he does. He does not. A man wants to be a priority in your world. He does not want to be the entirety of it, because here's what happens inside his mind when he becomes your everything. He feels the weight of it. He feels that your happiness, your social life, your sense of meaning, your Friday nights and your Sunday mornings, all of it is sitting on his back. And baby, he is already carrying the world. Remember trait 1, the sealed container of pressure? When you make him your entire universe, you don't become precious to him. You become heavy. And heavy things get set down. Not because he's cruel, because he's tired. Contrast that with the woman who has her own orbit. She has her work that she cares about, and I don't care if that's a business, a job she's proud of, a garden, a classroom, a canvas, a congregation. She has her people. She has her Tuesday thing and her Saturday thing. She has somewhere to be. And here's the magic. When she has somewhere to be, his time with her becomes an event. When she has a full life, his place in it becomes a chosen seat, not the default setting. Men are hunters. I told you that. And a hunter does not prize what stands still waiting to be taken. He prizes what moves, what has direction, what would keep right on going if he never showed up. That's the paradox that breaks women's brains. The less you need him for your existence, the more he wants to be part of your existence. The more your life shines without him, the more desperately he wants to stand in that light. Let me tell you about Maya. Oh, I have to tell you about Maya. Maya was brilliant, educated, beautiful, and she had a pattern. Every time she got into a relationship, she disappeared into it. Her friends stopped seeing her. Her hobbies collected dust. Her goals got edited down to fit around his schedule. She became a moon, orbiting whatever man she was with, shining with his reflected light. And every single relationship followed the same arc. He was captivated, then he was comfortable, then he was complacent, then he was gone. And Maya would rebuild her life in the ruins, get her friends back, pick her hobbies up, start glowing again, meet somebody new, and do it all over. She came to me after the third time, and she said the words that broke my heart. She said, "Steve, I give men everything and it's never enough." And I said, "Baby, that's the whole problem in one sentence. You give them everything, including yourself. And a self is the one thing a man cannot respect losing, because a self is the thing he fell in love with. He fell in love with a whole woman. Then the whole woman packed herself away to make room for him. And he's standing there with a beautiful, devoted shadow going, where did she go? Where did the woman I chased go? She didn't go anywhere. She got sacrificed. On the altar of being chosen, she sacrificed the very things that made him choose her. So Maya tried it differently. The next man she met, she made herself a promise. She said, "I will not cancel my life for a maybe." Thursday was her pottery class. And when he asked her out for Thursday, she said, "I have my class Thursday." "How's Saturday?" And she told me her hands were shaking when she sent that text, because every instinct in her said, don't risk it. He's cute. He has a good job. What if he doesn't ask again? He asked again. He asked about Saturday within the hour. And something shifted in that whole relationship, because she had a life. He never got to be the center of hers, which meant he always had to earn his place in it. He started planning ahead because he knew her time filled up. He started asking about her pottery, her promotion, her friends, because there was always something to ask about. She was interesting, not because she was performing interesting, but because she was living interesting. 2 years later, that man proposed. And at the wedding, he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Every other woman I dated wanted to know where this was going. Maya was the only one who was already going somewhere, and I just wanted to go with her." Somebody needs to hear that one more time. He didn't fall for the woman who asked where this was going. He fell for the woman who was already going somewhere. Direction is attractive. Motion is magnetic. A parked car collects dust. A moving one gets chased. Now here's the warning section, because there's a wrong way to do this, and a lot of women are doing it. Do not fake a life. Do not manufacture busyness. Men have radar for that. If you're turning him down for Thursday, but you're really home watching television, that energy leaks. It reads as a game, and games read as insecurity, and insecurity reads as pressure, and now we're back at heavy. The answer is not to pretend to have a life. The answer is to go get one. For real. Sign up for the thing. Call the friend back. Start the business plan. Take the class. Not for him, for you. The man is a side effect. You building a life you love is the medicine for everything. The loneliness, the overthinking, the checking your phone, the waiting. A woman with a full life doesn't check her phone every 6 minutes because her life is talking to her louder than her phone is. That's the goal. Not to seem busy, to be alive. Trait number 5, the last one. And I saved this one for last because it's the most misunderstood. And it's the one that ties all the others together. The 5th thing men find deeply, helplessly, can't explain it to their friends attractive in a woman is softness, warmth, the ability to receive. Now hold on. Before you click away, before you say, Steve, I am not about to be soft in 2026, soft women get played. Let me define my terms because softness has been lied about. Softness is not weakness. Softness is not submission. Softness is not letting a man run over you. We spent this whole time building your standards, your calm, your life. Softness is what you do with all that strength. Softness is the reward a man gets for passing your standards. And here it is in one line. Softness is the ability to let a man do something for you and to let it land. Let me break down what's happening inside his mind, because this is the deepest wiring a man has. A man is wired to provide and protect. That's not culture. That's not the 50s. That is ancient, bone deep, built into his DNA programming. And here's what that means for you. A man's love is expressed through doing. He shows love by fixing, by building, by solving, by carrying, by providing. That is his native language. Women speak love in words and time and attention. Men speak love in action and provision and presence. And when a man does something for you, when he fixes the thing, carries the bag, handles the reservation, works the extra hours, he is not just doing a task. He is saying, I love you in his mother tongue. And here's the tragedy I see in 1,000 relationships. The woman rejects the offering. I can do it myself. I don't need you to do that. That's okay. I got it. And she thinks she's being independent. She thinks she's being low maintenance. Baby, you are rejecting his love language to his face. You are telling him in the only language he fluently speaks that his love is not needed here. And do you know what a man does when his offerings are repeatedly rejected? He stops offering. And then one day you're saying, he never does anything for me anymore. And somewhere in the history of that relationship is 100 small offerings that got waved away. I knew a woman named Carol. Carol could do everything herself, and she was proud of it, and she should have been. She built a career, she raised kids, she fixed her own sink, she changed her own tire. Carol was a fortress. And Carol met a good man, a really good man, and within a year he had gone cold, and she could not understand it. She said, Steve, I never asked that man for anything. I was no trouble at all. And I said, Carol, that might be the problem. You never let him in. A fortress is impressive, but nobody wants to live outside one. A man needs a door. He needs somewhere he is needed, not in a desperate way, but in a real way. He needs to know that his presence adds something to your life that your absence removes. Otherwise, he is furniture. Otherwise, he is an accessory to a life that was already complete. And no man falls in love with being an accessory. Carol didn't believe me, but she tried it. He came over and she had a jar, a pickle jar, And her instinct said, you can open your own jars, woman. And instead she handed it to him and said, can you get this for me? And he opened it and she said, thank you, baby. And she let it land. She didn't follow it with, I could have done it. She just let it land. And she said the man stood up 2 inches taller, 2 inches over a pickle jar, because it was never about the jar. It was about the door. That tiny moment said, there is a place in my life for your strength. And a man who feels his strength has a place with you will give you more strength than you ever asked for. That's how they're built. They are engines that run on being needed, being useful, being appreciated. Starve that engine and it goes quiet. Feed it and it will pull you up a mountain. Now, receiving is bigger than jars and tires. Receiving is compliments. When he says you're beautiful, do you say, oh, stop, I look a mess today? Baby, stop rejecting the offering. The offering is not about your hair. The offering is him reaching out. When you deflect a compliment, you think you're being humble. You're actually telling him his reaching doesn't reach you. Do it enough times and he stops reaching. The correct response to a compliment is 2 words. Thank you. And then silence. Let it land. Let it be true. Let him see that his words got all the way in. That moment when a man sees that he can affect you, that he can put a smile on your face with his words, that is one of the most addictive experiences a man can have. Men fall in love with the women they can affect. If nothing he does moves you, pleases you, reaches you, he will find somewhere that he matters. That's not a threat. That's just gravity. And softness is warmth too. Softness is the touch on his arm when he walks past. Softness is I'm proud of you when he tells you about his day. Softness is asking his opinion and actually considering it. Not because you can't decide for yourself, but because his mind matters to you. Do you know what men say is the sexiest thing a woman ever says to them? It's not what you think. Men across the board say some version of this. She asked what I thought, and she actually wanted to know. Being consulted is intimacy for a man. Being trusted with the decision is foreplay for a man's heart. I know how that sounds, but you test it. You ask a man, what do you think I should do about this? And actually engage with his answer. And watch what happens to him. Watch him lean in. Watch him come alive. Because you just told him, in his language, that he matters to you. Not as a wallet, not as a plan, as a man. Now here comes the part where I put all 5 together. Because these 5 traits are not a checklist. They're a system. And the system is this: strength on the inside, softness at the door, steel in your standards, honey in your delivery, a full life that he must qualify to join, and a warm welcome when he does. Calm waters with real depth. That's the combination that makes a man look at a woman and go stupid. And I mean stupid. Cancel his plans, stupid. Tell his friends about her, stupid. Driving across town at midnight, stupid. You've seen men act stupid over women, and you thought it was because she was prettier than everybody. No. 9 times out of 10, that woman had this combination. She was calm enough to feel like peace, boundaried enough to feel valuable, playful enough to feel like joy, full enough to feel like a prize, and soft enough to let him feel like a man. That is the whole recipe. Not X, not Y, not your waistline, not your highlight, not your follower count. Peace, value, joy, purpose, and a door he can walk through. Now let's talk about the shift. Because knowing these 5 traits is one thing. Becoming them is another. And I know what some of you are feeling right now. Some of you are feeling overwhelmed, like I just handed you a renovation project. Great. Now I have to fix 5 more things about myself. No, baby. Listen to me carefully. This is not a renovation. This is an excavation. Every single one of these traits is already in you. You were born calm before the chaos taught you volume. You were born with standards before rejection taught you to discount. You were born playful before heartbreak taught you to be guarded. You were born with dreams before some man became your only dream. And you were born soft before the world taught you that soft gets hurt. I'm not asking you to become someone else. I'm asking you to come back to yourself. The woman he can't resist is not a new woman. She's the original you before life taught you to edit. So here's the power move that changes everything. And it's simpler than you think. Stop performing for men and start building for yourself. That's the whole shift. Every anxious thing you do in dating, the over-texting, the over-giving, the waiting by the phone, the molding yourself into whatever he seems to like, all of it comes from one root. You are performing for approval. And performance is exhausting, and worse, performance is visible. Men can feel performance the way you can feel when a salesperson is working you. It creates pressure. It creates that heaviness we talked about. The woman who stops performing and starts building her peace, her standards, her joy, her life, her warmth, that woman emits a completely different signal. She stops broadcasting, "Please choose me," and starts broadcasting, "This is who I am." And baby, those two signals get two completely different responses from men. "Please choose me" attracts men who want to be worshiped. "This is who I am" attracts men who want to worship. Read that again. Your signal determines your suitor. You have been blaming the men, and I understand some of them earned it. But the common denominator in your dating life is the signal. Change the signal. Change the suitor. And here's what happens in his mind when you make this shift. Because I want you to see the machinery. When a woman pulls her energy back from performing and puts it into building, a man experiences something he almost never experiences. He experiences uncertainty. Not cruelty, not games, just genuine uncertainty about whether he can have all of her. Because she's not chasing, she's not pressing, she's living. And uncertainty in a man's mind triggers the most powerful force in male psychology, loss aversion. A man is twice as motivated by the fear of losing something as by the hope of gaining something. That's science. But it's also just Tuesday. If you've ever watched a man ignore a woman for months and then lose his mind when she starts dating somebody new. He wasn't confused about her value before. He was certain about her availability. Certainty is the enemy of desire, not availability, not honesty, certainty. When he is certain he has you, fully, unconditionally, no matter how he behaves, his hunter goes to sleep. When he is blessedly, wonderfully uncertain, when he knows you want him, but you do not need him, when he knows you like him, but you will not collapse without him, the hunter wakes up. And an awake hunter is attentive, romantic, consistent, and terrified of losing you in the most beautiful way. Now, here's where most women mess up the shift. So put your seatbelt on. Mistake number one. They do it as a tactic. They pull back to get a reaction. They build the life as bait. And baby, tactics have a shelf life. If your calm is a tactic, it will crack the first time he disappoints you. If your standards are a tactic, they will fold the first time he applies real pressure. If your full life is a tactic, it will be obvious that the calendar is full, but the heart is empty, waiting. Tactics are makeup. Character is bone structure. What I'm describing to you is not something you do to a man. It's something you become for yourself, and men respond to the becoming. The difference between a tactic and a transformation is that a tactic is watching him to see if it's working. A transformation isn't watching him at all. You're too busy living, and that right there is the tell. He can feel when you're doing it for him versus doing it for you, and only one of those is magnetic. Mistake number 2. They swing to the opposite extreme. They hear standards and become cold. They hear softness is powerful, and then they can't do it, so they armor up instead and call it standards. They hear have a life and become so unavailable that no man could ever get in. Sister, that's not what I taught you today. Ice is not standards. Walls are not a life. Rudeness is not strength. The 5 traits work as a system, remember? Steel on the inside, warmth at the door. A woman with standards and no warmth is a wall, and men admire walls and then go find a home. A woman with warmth and no standards is a doormat, and men wipe their feet and keep walking. You need both. You have always needed both. The magic is in the both. Mistake number 3. They expect it to work on the man they're currently begging. Ooh, I felt that one in the room. Some of you are taking notes right now with a specific man in mind, and you're thinking, okay, if I do all this, he'll finally commit. He'll finally change. He'll finally see me. Baby, listen to me. This transformation is not a lever you pull to operate a specific man. Some men cannot see you, no matter what you become, because their blindness is about them, not you. A man who is committed to misunderstanding you will misunderstand the calm you, the boundaried you, the radiant you, all of you. That's not your failure. That's his limitation. The point of becoming this woman is not to finally be good enough for the man who kept you waiting. The point is to become the woman who would never wait that long again. Sometimes the shift doesn't change him. Sometimes the shift changes your address. And that's not a consolation prize. That is the upgrade. Let me tell you one more story, because I want you to see how this ends when it ends right. There was a woman, we'll call her Angela. Angela spent 4 years in a situationship. 4 years. You know what a situationship is. All the duties of a girlfriend, none of the title, none of the security, none of the future. He'd come around, she'd hope, he'd pull back, she'd ache. 4 years of her 30s. And then one Sunday, no big fight, no dramatic discovery, just a quiet Sunday. Angela was getting ready to go over to his place where she had a drawer, but no key, and she caught her own eyes in the mirror, and she said something in her spirit just stood up. She said it wasn't even anger. It was clarity. She looked at herself and she said out loud, I am a whole woman sitting in somebody's hallway. And she sat down on the bed, fully dressed, and she didn't go. And when he texted hours later, a casual you coming? She wrote back the calmest sentence of her life. She wrote, no, and I don't think I will be anymore. I want a life, not a drawer. I wish you well. And then she did the hardest part. She held it. No follow-up paragraph. No, unless you want to talk about it. She let the sentence be the sentence. Now, you want to know what he did. Everybody wants to know what he did. He called 17 times that week. He showed up. He cried. Actually cried. Said he didn't know what he'd been doing. said he was ready, said all the words she'd waited 4 years to hear. And Angela listened to all of it. And then she did something that 4 years ago Angela could never have done. She said, I believe that you mean that today, but I spent 4 years learning who you are, and 1 week is not enough to convince me you've become somebody else. And she walked, and she told me later, that was the moment I became somebody, not when he chased me. When I could watch him chase me and still choose myself. That's the level. That's what I'm trying to build in you today. Not a woman who gets chased. A woman who can't be moved by the chase. And the end of the story, 18 months later, Angela met a man at a cooking class. A class she signed up for because she was building a life. Remember, trait 4. And this man planned dates, stated intentions, met her family, asked her opinion on everything, and married her in 2 years. At the reception, she told me, the strangest thing is, I didn't do anything to get him. I just stopped doing all the things I used to do to keep the wrong ones. Baby, if you didn't hear anything else today, hear that. She didn't do anything to get him. She just stopped doing the things that kept the wrong ones. Now, I want to talk directly to the woman who's been listening this whole time with a heavy chest, because I know you're here. You're the woman who recognized herself in every mistake I named. You're the woman who did the 2 a.m. paragraphs, who accepted the bare minimum, who disappeared into somebody's life, who rejected every compliment, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you gave softness to a man who had earned none of it, and now you're sitting there going, Steve, I did it all wrong. I've wasted years. It's too late for me. Stop right there. Look at me. It is not too late for you. You are not behind. You are not damaged goods. You are not the sum of the men who mishandled you. You are a woman who loved hard without a manual. And today somebody finally handed you the manual. That's not a waste. That's a beginning wearing the clothes of a regret. Every year you spent learning what doesn't work was tuition. And I know tuition was expensive. I know it cost you tears and birthdays and versions of yourself you miss. But the degree you're holding now, the clarity you have at this exact moment, some women never get it. Some women go to their graves accepting the bare minimum and calling it love. You won't. Not after today. Today the pattern ends. And to the young woman listening, the one in her 20s who thinks this doesn't apply to her yet, baby, this applies to you most of all. You are setting the price right now. Right now, in these years, you are teaching the market what you cost. Every standard you keep now is a foundation. Every discount you give now is a habit. Build it right the first time. Be calm now. Be boundaried now. Be playful and purposeful and warm now so you never have to excavate it later. You are not too young for this. You are exactly on time. Now let me preach for a minute, because I can feel the landing strip. You are not asking for too much. You have never been asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person. You are not too emotional. You feel deeply, and depth is not a defect. Depth is a treasure, and it frightens shallow men. Let it. You are not too much. You have never been too much. You will never be too much. The man who made you feel like too much was simply not enough. You are not hard to love. You were loving men who found your love convenient and your needs inconvenient. And they called that hard to love, so you carry the blame for their limitations. And you are not running out of time. I don't care what the calendar says, what your mama says, what the internet says. Real love is not on a schedule you were handed. It is on the schedule of your becoming, because here's the truth underneath all 5 traits, the truth this whole video has been walking toward. Men find attractive in a woman the exact things that make her whole without one. Calm, standards, joy, purpose, softness. Those are not dating tactics. Those are the fruits of a woman who has come home to herself. And that's why the women who have them get chosen so deeply, so completely, so permanently. Because a man, a real man, is not looking for a woman to complete him, and he is not looking to complete you. He is looking for a whole woman whose life is so good that he is desperate to be allowed inside it. Be so whole he has to qualify. Be so warm he wants to stay. That is the entire secret. It was never your face. It was never your body. It was never your willingness to shrink. It was always going to be the woman you became when you finally decided you were worth the becoming. So here's what you're going to do. Tonight, you're going to stop checking his page. You're going to stop drafting the text. You're going to take out a piece of paper and you're going to write down the 5 words. Calm standards, playfulness, purpose, softness.